Well, everybody, welcome back to the Future Is Now podcast. I am with Dr. Tye Bratvold. Tye, how are you doing today?
Real good, real good. It's great to be here.
Great to be here. So you are a chiropractor.
Yes.
You're actually I say my chiropractor, but I don't go as much as I should.
Yeah.
But it's great because whenever you're around, I always have to check my posture. Like
That's right.
I'm always like,
That's
okay,
good.
Dr. Tye's in the room. How's my posture doing? So thanks for coming on to the podcast today. And today, we're kind of just talking about we're talking about your practice, what it means to be a chiropractor, and then ultimately kind of leadership in the terms of what it means to be a healthy leader and worry about your physical exercise, diet, things like that. So
Sure.
We can just honestly start off with you and maybe what you do, how you got into being a chiropractor, and kind of that whole backstory that led you to do what you're doing today.
Sure. I've been a chiropractor for 23 years now. Graduated this month, 23 years ago. It's crazy. It goes by really fast. And, it's funny because talking to a lot of my buddies and the guys I went to school with, they had these great stories of, I was in a car accident and man, I couldn't move and a chiropractor saved my life. And, I did this and I had this pain and I went to the chiropractor and man, I am so blessed to have a story that it was a total God thing because I went to the University of Washington on a track scholarship to
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
What'd you do in track?
Hurdles and 4x4.
Really?
So, yeah. So I'm the white boy with the wheels. So.
Wait, what was your 400?
Yeah.
What was your 400 time? Your
My
best?
400 best split was 48.1. Wow. So yeah. So I'm going there, and my dad was working for the Washington National Gas Company at the time. So he had an in, had no idea what I wanted to do. So he had an in. He's like, well, hey, if you get a mechanical engineering degree, you're set. I can get you into Washington Natural Gas, piece of cake. So I did an intro to mechanical engineering, and I was like, snore. I got to work with people. I want to do something. I want to help people, and I just felt that was my calling. And so I said, I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
But I knew I didn't want to do surgeries. I didn't want to prescribe medication, no vaccines, and all that garbage and stuff like that. And so I'm like, that's great. I have no idea what doctor is out there that does it. Pediatrician. Oh, wait, no. They do drugs and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Oh, well, I'm just going to go pre-med. So I did pre-med, and literally a year and a half into it, I've got to declare something coming up here soon. And my mom, is going to her chiropractor that I didn't even know. I didn't even know what chiropractic was. Yeah. And so she said, hey, I'm going to the chiropractor. You want to go? I'm like, sure. Okay, whatever. So I remember when we went, we pulled up, I can tell you what stall we pulled into at Dr. Larry Baumel's office. And I was like, this is it. Yeah. I have no idea what this thing is, but I just got this overwhelming sense. This is it. Walk in. There's no one there, just the receptionist. And I'm like, this is it. I don't know why. But so we go in the room. I see all the posters of spines and nerve system and things. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Talked to him about it. Literally, I had no problems, no pains going in, nothing going out, anything. He took some x-rays of me just because, I was interested. I was adjusted 3 times with an activator. That's that little clicker thing. And I was like, I'm doing this. And I signed up for school after I got my pre-med, after I got my bachelor's degree in human biology at the U, went down to chiropractic school and fell in love with it ever since. Wow. So it was one of those, just kind of followed the open door that God put there for me. So not really exciting, but for me, it's even more exciting than the saved my life story because it really saved my life in a different way. Yeah, so. That's
really cool. And, I remember the first time that I went to your office, it was like, I don't know if you remember this. It was, I think I had a tweak in my neck or something. It was when me and Adrian I don't know if we were married or dating at the time. But we went in and to your office, because the archers have been there for so long. Yeah. And so we got x-rays and everything. Yeah. Oh, actually, I think I was deadlifting. I think that's what it was. I was deadlifting. I hurt my back. Yep. So they did x-rays and you come into the office and this is the first time I've ever met you. And you're like, hey, has anybody ever told you that you have scoliosis? And I was like, what? No. And you go, oh yeah, you have scoliosis and it's pretty bad, which is crazy because I grew up playing soccer and I grew up like, having physicals or whatever, and nobody ever. How did that happen? How did I go my whole life not knowing that I had scoliosis?
You gotta, number one, you have to be looking for things like that. That's my world. I always kind of joke around a little bit, but when you watch The Terminator and they zoom through his perspective on the scene, and it's like, oh, there's it's like there's a weapon there, there's a troublemaker there, there's this. That's my world in chiropractic. When I walk into a crowded area, all I see is like low shoulders, rotated hips, scoliosis, forward head posture, and it's like sometimes it can get overwhelming because I'm like, I just want to throw a bunch of cards out and go, you guys need me, get in here. But it's one of those things that if you're going to physicians that don't care about that, aren't interested in, aren't looking for that, they're not going to see it.
That's crazy. So when you look at somebody, how much can you tell?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like a Sherlock Holmes thing, like you're just analyzing everything.
Yeah.
Like what is it about people that is it like their shoulders? Is it their?
It's kind of everything. Like
really?
Just even a slight twist in the hips will rotate the femur in on the front side. That makes the knee kind of buckle in a little bit. That makes your right foot and your right ankle pronate, and then that's a whole slew of biomechanical problems right there that, if left untreated, turns into something really bad. Even if it doesn't even hurt now, it's going to. One of the newer things that I've been teaching people is. I'm a biomechanical specialist. My job is to make sure that your body works with physics, not against physics. Because if you're working against the physics, it's going to break down. The way God designed us is if you're working with physics, it's literally not going to wear out. Osteoarthritis is not a thing because you will be in great shape and things will relubricate and not stop moving, and man, it's going to be awesome. So for people that may be listening and they've never been to a chiropractor, they don't know really what chiropractic is, why don't you give a flyby of like what it is essentially that you do and help with your patients? Yeah. It's been kind of known as a pain or back pain specialty and all that stuff, and that's so not what it is. That's what brings most people in, but can I give you a little history? It's kind of cool.
I love history.
I love this. So back in 1916, when that big giant flu was killing so many people, chiropractic was not legalized. 1895 is when we stared with D.D. Palmer. He was a magnet guy, right? He was into magnets. He was into nerve system, and there was a janitor, Harvey Lillard, at his facility. And he bonked his head on the stairs, basically, and became deaf. And so he went to D.D. Palmer and said, man, I don't know what's going on. I can't hear, kind of a thing. And so he knew enough about the nerve system and the spine. He's like, well, the nerve that comes around the atlas and goes into the ear, maybe that's a problem because you jacked your neck. So he found a way and just was practicing and playing around, and he jammed that atlas back and boom, restored his hearing like that. So that was kind of the birth of chiropractic as a profession, so to say, even though there's ancient hieroglyphics that show what were called bone setters at the time. So it really goes thousands of years back. But professionally, 1895 was when that started. So he and his son created a school for health. To help the body just work right and function at its best, removing interference through spinal correction, kind of a thing. Doing this non-legal, there's chiropractors going to jail for practicing medicine without a license. Come 1916, lots of chiropractics happened, and the flu hits, and 2 years goes by, over 1 million people died because of this flu. But the chiropractors looked at their patient base, basically, and their case management, and saw, wow, statistically, our patients are way healthier, not dying at all, or not even getting sick from this flu. Maybe we got something here. It's a healthcare system. So we took that to the Department of Health, and Nebraska was the first one. Nebraska and Iowa were the first ones to say, wow, this thing's real. Boom, it's legal. So it legalized in Nebraska and Iowa, and then slowly spread across the whole nation and legalized it as an actual profession. Throughout time, I just feel medicine is so powerful and influential and really dogging us for being these quacks. And so it was easier to speak medical language by saying, hey, it works with back pain and neck pain. Right? Because it's effective with that as well. But it's so much more a health profession, not just a pain profession. So in my office, most people will come in with a pain or an ache or something or an injury, car accident. And the first thing I say is, I'm not going to treat your pain. I want that to be the first goal that we obtain, is getting you out of pain, but that's not where we stop, because the spine protects the nerve system, 90% of which is for function of your body, and I want you to be at your optimal functional potential so that you can serve your family and the people around you at the best possible way for the rest of your life. So that's more of where I go with mine, is educate on the aspect of how can we make our bodies the best so we can be the best servants out there.
So that's crazy. The Spanish flu was kind of
that was the kickoff of our profession. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I need to look into that. That's really interesting. Okay, so one question I have that we can kind of talk about a little bit is the idea of what health means as a leader. And you can give your take on this, but in my opinion, I mean, if you ask my friends, I talk about this all the time on how I just feel like physical health, because I think that society has done a great job incorporating, mental health and, hey, we need to have mental health as leaders, you need to get your rest, etc. But I just feel like physical health is something that is so maybe not overlooked, but unappreciated when it comes to leadership. And in my life, I've found that in the times where I'm not physically healthiest, and I find myself being so ineffective.
Yeah.
And honestly, like it's a simple question sometimes throughout the day of like, oh, I'm so, I had not a bad day, but maybe I didn't have as effective of a day. It's sometimes as simple as like, did I drink any water today? So in your opinion, do you see the same thing of like, people that are neglecting their physical health? And what is a reason do you think that people do? I mean, I just feel like it's so prevalent. I mean, especially in America, obviously, with with weight, with things that people struggle with. But why do you think that that's something that people tend to like overlook and like not even consider when you're thinking about how effective you are as a leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing is, number one, physical health is hard. And I hate to say it, but America is the land of I want what I want, and I want it now. And exercise is not something like that. You don't work out once and then you're Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of a thing. It takes time and consistency over time, and it's not fun. I mean, there's some people that are exercise nutballs and they love getting out there and exercise. I'm going to tell you, I exercise 5 days a week religiously hard. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I would love to just sit down and chill and watch a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
But I know my role as a dad is to show my kids that, keeping our bodies fit is important. Number two, God's commissioned me to, this is a leased body. This is his, not mine. So I got to make sure and take care of it the right way as he's commissioned me to. And that's part of that. Number three, exercise is hormone regulation. What do hormones do? They drive everything. So if you're going to be in a good mood or a bad mood that day, it's all about cortisol and serotonin levels and all these, dopamine receptions and things like that. So that really keeps that set so that you can be on top all the time. And then when you're on top all the time, I mean, your mind's sharp. Your mental health is easier to work with.
Totally.
Because it's if you're having a really rough time, bad day, you can't just go, oh, I'm just going to have a good day. Right. It's just, there we go. I'm going to have a good day today. I mean, that's impossible. So we have to have the tools in place to be able to give us the fuel to say, okay, I got to recognize that this is going to, I'm struggling a little bit. What do I need to do? Well, a lot of times I'll just pump on the bike for like 15, 20 minutes and get a good pump. And man, my serotonin levels just skyrocket, and I get off that bike and I'm jazzed.
Yeah.
I'm just absolutely ready to go. So yeah, and then I can be that better leader for my patients, for my family, and for my team from that aspect.
Yeah, the days that I don't, because I understand I'm in the minority because I love working out.
Yeah.
But sometimes, obviously, everybody has those days where it's like, I don't want to work out. But I always tell myself, if I can just start for 5 minutes, then I'll get the workout done.
Absolutely.
You just have to start. And I think, honestly, like a lot of it has to also do with you don't see the immediate bad things that happen when you don't work out, essentially. You know, like it's easy to say, I'm not going to work out today. But then when that becomes a habit, all of a sudden, 2 months go by and you're like, oh, I haven't worked out in 2 months. And then that's kind of where you start seeing that. And I like how you mention kind of that mental health aspect of it, because I've found in my life, like kind of what you're saying, it helps so much with everything besides your physical appearance.
Yeah, absolutely.
It helps with your optimism. It helps with your efficiency, the way that you view everything. It just like, I have a friend that started working out on New Year's, and they told me, they're like, it's crazy that I had dealt with so much anxiety and stress, and now that I've been working out, it's helping so much with that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an overlooked aspect of physical health. And I know that you yourself, and I think chiropractors in general, are obviously on the side of like natural health, versus drugs, versus, that side of it. And so, because this is my opinion, I just feel like there's so many, teenagers that just self-diagnose themselves with anxiety.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, I have anxiety.
Time. Yeah.
And it's like,
the world says if I'm a little bit sad, I'm depressed.
Yes.
It's like, well, that's called being a human.
Yeah. Like that's a pretty big deal to say like you are depressed or have anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously there are, anxiety, there's depression,
Absolutely.
There's these things that are real in everyday, in people's lives. But I think that sometimes we just all of a sudden just jump off the cliff of like self-diagnosis rather than looking at our lives and taking responsibility of like, okay, 100%. Am I doing my job? Am I? And I do that all the time where it's like, oh, I'm so stressed or, but I'm like, okay, am I getting 8 hours of sleep a night? Am I getting my sleep at night? Am I having a healthy diet? Am I exercising? Even like, am I in the Word? Am I reading my Bible? When all those things aren't happening, then my life just gets out of funk.
Absolutely.
But the more that I'm in that, the more it's like, oh, okay, everything starts making a little bit more sense. So that's what I really appreciate about you is that idea of, okay, well, let's not just jump to, hey, this is what you have. Let's just deal with, hey, how effective am I as a leader, and what is my responsibility? Because I think that's a big thing of personal ownership when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, you got to define your purpose for first and foremost, because that drives everything. Is what are you on this earth for? What are you here for? What are you and your family for? I mean, once we define those roles, then it's easier to go, well, man, that's a big responsibility, and it's not about me now. It's about everybody else. There's not too many people on this planet that aren't here to serve for other people. I mean, it's just everyone loves doing things for someone else because that gratification, like, I helped someone, right? So it's a matter of, well, if that's what you love, then if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you can't help those people the way you want to, and that's depressing. Right? So we just have to kind of go back and get our perspectives right, and I think that's what a big problem with a lot of people is where their perspective is. We get that perspective in this little bubble of it's I don't affect anybody, it's just me, I don't care about me, and so I'm just I'm not going to work out. It's hard, it's not fun, and I don't have the energy, I'm tired, and this and that. But if we have this, well, you know what? I'm going into my office to see 120 people today. Man, I've got 120 people's lives that I get to affect in a positive way or a negative way, depending on what I bring to them. So that's a big responsibility. I better be on my game, and I better be making sure I'm tight with my health so that I can pour into them, because then they're going to be pouring into a ton of other people in their life, and then it just cascades. And not everyone's built that way. It's a choice. That's what it comes down to. That's what I'm teaching my kids. Everything's all about a choice. So we can choose to be the group of people that just sits back and kind of sucks from, or we can be the people that give to relationships and give to this country and give to our things, and not let our circumstances drive our outcomes. If we let everyone's got stuff, right, their circumstance, so we can let that be a crutch, or we can let that be an opportunity. And I'm trying to teach my kids and as many people as I can, let it be an opportunity to move forward and have a bigger purpose in this life than just I go to work, I come home, and then I eat, I poop, I sleep, and that's it. Woo! All right, that's exciting.
Right. Are you a fan of like diets? Like 30-day cleanse or diet. Are you a fan of
So I don't like the word diet because first three letters of the word diet is, and there's fad diet that goes with that. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 30 days. I'm not a big fan of those quick things because it's just science and statistics. You look at the outcomes, and there's some very few people that do well off of that, lose their 30 pounds, and then continue.
Yes.
Very few, though.
Right.
So I'm more of again, find your purpose. What's your why? As Roger always says, well, your why drives your what, kind of a thing. And so what is your why? So that, if you need a kickstart with this diet, that's great. But what is your plan after that to stay consistent? And what is your, you can't lose 30 pounds in 30 days and have your body be like, yeah, this is cool. I'm just running right with this. It's going to tweak it. You're going to have massive cravings. There's going to be chemical imbalances, and you're going to fall off, and then boom, I failed, so I'm going to just eat my way out of this depression kind of a thing. So it's that, why am I doing this? What's my ultimate goal? And that's why I tell people, go long term. What's your ultimate goal? I want to be 100 years. I want to be the first 100-year-old Bratvold out there. And so, what do I have to do that? Well, I got to do this, and just reverse engineer it. But again, I have my why. Why do I want to do that?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get into these golden years that, now turn to more like lead years. And I want to keep it golden. That means I got to do my part now because what I do now is going to affect me later on. Yeah.
I think the same way of, listen, if I will cheer anybody on that wants to take a step towards being healthier.
Absolutely.
You go for it. That's amazing. But I'm in the same boat when I see a pattern of people that like jump on a diet, and then they lose weight for a month, and then the next month they gain it back. And then 2 months later they start another diet, and then they gain it back. And then it just seems more stressful to me than anything else.
It's stressful on their body too.
Yeah, just rather than having a consistent I'm not saying that your only meal every day has to be brown rice, broccoli, and chicken for 3 meals a day, but I think just analyzing your entire life and say, how can I live a better lifestyle is a lot better of a long-term goal rather than I'm not going to eat anything for 30 days and then I'm going to gain it back and then get, really discouraged. And then, it just seems very volatile to me. So whenever I see, the fad diets, I'm always like, it's great, if that is the jump start, if it's like, okay, I need to make a change in my life. This is going to, if laid out a month for me, this starts that, then that's great and amazing. But yeah, to me, I'm like, it just seems so stressful sometimes.
It is. And, it does follow the American lifestyle. Yeah. I want it fast, and it's just proven over and over that it doesn't work. We need to slow down. That's what I try and tell my patients, slow down. Yeah. Make a 6-month goal and put 10 pounds, 5 pounds a month over 6 months. Well, there's 30 pounds. And what do you think? Is it going to stay off versus your 1 month and 30 pounds? It's going to stay off because you've made the subtle changes to continually, consistently drop that weight. You've had to basically change up your life in a bit, and it's not so massive that it's it's not sustainable, basically. It's creating that sustainability. What am I going to do little bits at a time? And that's where with my patients, I tell them, I'm all in. I'm 100% always. When I do something, I'm 100%, and I can sustain that. I'm okay with that. Most people aren't, and so I'm going to jump in where you are, and I'm gonna push you a little bit. If you're a 10%er, cool. I'm going to push you to 11. And then we're going to get to that 11, and we're going to start growing from there and giving you the tools to stay consistent with things.
Yep.
And it's not defeating then. It's an attainable goal, and that's my thing. I don't want people to be defeated, because that's when we just lose our way.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have setbacks. And in a 30-day thing, that's a huge setback when you just drop it and you lost 30 pounds, you gained 40 kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If you went through 5 pounds a month and oh man, I only hit 4 this month. That's not a big drop. That's a majorly recoverable drop there that you can go, I got this, boom, get back on. So
yeah, I love that. So we're going to go into one of our segments. So this segment is called Fact or Fiction. Okay. So I don't know if you know this, but chiropractors are huge on TikTok right now.
I know. Everyone's telling me, you got to get a TikTok. You got to make the noises, put a microphone on people. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, people just put mics, and then it's like, I follow like 5 of them on there. Like, I love it. So, but I went through a bunch of chiropractors on TikTok, and I took some questions that people had. And so we're going to go through these questions, and you're basically going to talk about if it's fact or fiction. Okay. So the first question. Oh, jeez. The first question, this is a good one. That someone said, I want to do this so bad, but I'm afraid that I'm going to fart. Has that happened to you?
Every single day. Every day there's at least one person.
Really?
In my entire 23 years.
Oh my gosh. That is, do people get like, do they act like it doesn't happen, or do they get really embarrassed?
It's so I've got my routine.
Okay.
All right. I have to read people, and I'm going to tell you one of my favorite stories, but it's more of a, if it happens, I try and just skip it like I didn't even hear it, and we just roll like nothing happened. So that's always been my gig, and it's worked really good. But there is this one. Old people, I love old people because they're like, whatever, I don't care. I will drop trowel right here in the middle of a Coliseum. It doesn't matter. I don't have any whatever.
Who cares?
So this one lady is an older lady. She's about 75-ish, mid-70s, and I adjust her on her side, and man, she barks this big old toot out. And so I just kind of rolled with it. I was like, oh, that was a good adjustment. She looks at me, and I'm like trying to hold it in because it was a big one. And she looks at me and she goes, honey, that was a fart. And I was on the floor rolling after that. But she was so awesome. But yeah, it happens. You got gas in there. You got to fart, and it's at the moment that you're getting it's going to happen. No big deal.
Oh, okay. I love that. Okay, I'm glad. That makes me laugh.
It's fun.
Here's another one. Someone said chiropractors are quacks and paralyze more people every year than car accidents.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Paralyzed. Someone asked me just about 3 months ago how many adjustments I've ever done. And so I was like, gosh, I don't know. So I went back and just kind of calculated it up, roundabouts. And I'm about 380,000 adjustments that I've done in 25 years, 26 years of schooling. Not one was paralyzed. Not one died. Not one had any issues whatsoever. So are there going to be times where someone has a bad response to an adjustment? Yeah, absolutely. It's like, how many people have died on the surgical table? How many people have died from a medical doctor giving them the medications, even the correct medication versus wrong? I mean, just so you look at the amount of people that are injured or hurt with chiropractic versus any other profession out there, we're the lowest. That's why, you want to find out a real, true temperature gauge of like hurting from a profession. Look at the malpractice. Our malpractice is about $1,500 a year. So that's all it costs us.
Yeah.
A neurosurgeon's is like $80,000 a year.
I bet. Yeah.
So medical doctors way higher. So it's like, we can focus on those things, and it happens sometimes. And you've got good chiropractors and bad chiropractors. I try and be extremely thorough because there's been times where I've seen something like, I don't like this. Yeah. you look like you're having a stroke. This is not a time for me to just rack them and crack them.
Right.
So we're going to adjust you with this little clicker thing, and then you're going to go to the hospital. And I've had 3 times where people were in the middle of a stroke, and me sending them up there. Yeah, well, see, the thing is a stroke can manifest itself as, I got this headache right here.
Okay.
How many times have you had a headache right there?
Right.
I mean, it's one of the most common headaches there is. Yeah. And so if you're not looking at the other signs and symptoms, then you're going to miss that. And they're having a stroke, they're starting it, and when you start to adjust that thing, it can set it off.
Gotcha.
And then they go to the hospital, and it's like, I got adjusted, and this happened. Well, no, you were already having it.
Yeah.
The chiropractor just didn't see that you were having it and do the right thing and the right way to take care of it. Right. So, and those 3 people are alive today because I said, go to the hospital right now. They caught it in time. Wow. And even the medical doctors were like, hey, you need to thank your chiropractor. So it was good outcomes, and it's just about paying attention.
That's crazy. Okay, so another one is, so I watched this one where it was like a 7-year-old kid, and someone said kids don't need this.
Gotcha.
So what's your take on that? Fact or fiction?
Oh, well, you know that. That is straight up fiction. Because, number one, it's all science-based. So one of the things I go off of, a German medical doctor, Dr. Gutmann, studied 1,000 infants for this thing called subluxation. That's that misalignment of the bones that causes the pressure on the nerve system. And he found that after delivering 1,000 of these kids, checking them for subluxation of their atlas, 893 of these kids were born with those misalignments. But that wasn't enough. He wanted to see what's the effect of that. So half of them got adjusted, half of them didn't get adjusted. And the half that didn't get adjusted, their health history over the 4 years was 74% was asthmas, allergies, autoimmune disorders, ADD, ADHD, chronic ear infections, chronic other illnesses, reoccurring things like that. Of the group that got adjusted, it was less than 2%. So we went from 74% to less than 2% because those kids got their bone moved over into place when they were early on in childhood, kind of a thing. So that happens. How do we learn to walk? We fell a bunch of times, right? Does that put the spine out of line? Yeah. But again, what medicine goes by, what medicine teaches us is how you feel. It's all about how you feel. Chiropractic is all about how you function. So I've adjusted thousands of infants and babies, and man, I tell you what, I've had some miracle stories and all kinds of great things happen with these kids, and money saved on asthma and allergy medications and all this other stuff. ADD and ADHD is one of the easiest ones to work with. You get rid of their sugar, you limit their phone time, and you get them adjusted, and boom, you got a normal kid again. So we hammer ourselves when we're kids, playing hard, falling, crashing, banging, booming. We just don't feel the pains that we do later on. So then people don't equate, do I need a chiropractor because I don't hurt? Does my kid need to go to the chiropractor because they don't hurt? Well, did your kid fall ever? Most likely there's a misalignment. That misalignment is going to have a functional deficit somewhere at some point. Why not just take care of it now and make sure that they grow up having no functional any kind of problems?
Yeah. So what does adjusting, how does that help like ADHD?
So the biggest thing is when we have misalignments, it creates an interference on the efficiency of the brain. Much less going from the brain to the rest of the body than it is all of the work going back up into the brain going, I now have to organize all of this. What can I do? Well, I got this miscommunication. Now I got to work harder. So the brain becomes way, way less efficient, and it has to work way harder. So if you can think about it like it's just spinning up. It's just going like crazy trying to just make this body survive.
Gotcha.
Well, you put that in a normal environment, a learning environment at school, and it's like, you're not going fast enough. I'm just like, whoa, what was that over there? Someone dropped the pencil. Oh, hey, what's Billy? He farted, and so it's just the brain is constantly just not organized. When I adjust, I've had parents just say, especially with babies, after it's been a while since they haven't been in from birth, colicky, just uncomfortable, things like that, just not sleeping through the night. The number one thing I get every single time I adjust a baby is, oh my gosh, my kid slept for like 6-8 hours straight. I had to put a mirror under their nose because I wasn't sure. I'm used to them getting up every hour,
Yeah.
you know. And so what that means is it calm that brain down. When you calm the brain down and make it more efficient, now that child can focus a lot better.
Yeah.
And it's not just all over the place. It's like, oh, here we go. There, that's awesome.
That's great.
So
that's really cool. Okay, another one. This is my favorite one.
yeah.
Does anyone else think, this is someone commented, does anyone else think that chiropractors would make the perfect assassins?
Oh my gosh.
So if you wanted to, could you use your powers for evil?
Well, of course. I mean, that's silly. That's like, you know, I mean, in the military, what are they trained to do?
I know, but you're not trained to kill.
No, I think, you know, that's a good, I'm going to answer this two ways. Do we know how to, would we know how to? Yeah, absolutely. It's taking, you know, and here's what everyone needs.
I feel like you're snapping my neck every time.
Right. Here's what everyone needs to realize. The power that it takes to really injure and break someone's neck is a lot. I mean,
Really?
It is a lot. Yeah. I mean, you think about how many people are in these horrific car accidents that don't die.
I mean, that's true, yeah.
Right? I'm not even coming close to the force applied to the necks and backs that a car accident is doing. Not even close. And then on top of that, you add the specificity to it. So with the knowledge that we have of how the spine's, you know, anatomy is, yeah, I mean, you go a lot farther than you normally would. Now, as a chiropractor, my brain is trained to only go to that one spot. So to go past it, man, you got to tick me off a lot in order to get me there. Mess with my family or something. Now we're talking.
Exactly. Okay, so the last one is someone said, I always feel the need to crack my neck and back, but the more that I do, the more that it hurts.
Oh, I love.
So you could also speak
this.
to, you could answer this question, but also speak to the fact of the argument that I'm sure you've heard tons of times is, nothing was wrong with me until I went to the chiropractor.
Yeah.
Now everything is wrong with me because
exactly.
I've heard that a few times.
Yeah,
too.
I've heard that too. Once you go to the chiropractor, you always have to go.
Yes.
And it's like, my first one was your heart medicine.
Yeah.
Do you get off of that? Once you start that, they want you on it for the rest of your life. So what's the difference there? So first part of that, here's how I map it out for my patients. When you come into my office, I assess, I look at what's wrong, and we're going to fix the problem. So as we're doing this, I got to see you a bunch in the beginning time, and then taper you off, because how am I tapering you off? You're getting better. Stability is happening. The subluxations, misalignments are not going out as much. Now we're stabilizing. Now you're at once a month, and I'm just tuning you up. So you see how it goes 3 times a week down to once a month. That's progression.
Yep.
When people start snapping their necks, it usually starts at once in a while. Right?
Yeah.
So this is for all my neck poppers out there. When you started popping your neck, it was just once in a while. But then as you got further into this, you had to start doing it more and more and more. So does that mean you're getting it better or worse? You're making the problem worse because you're having to do it more.
Yeah.
I'm making the problem better because I get to see you less and less. So that kind of is the neck poppers is you're just getting an endorphin release, which is a natural painkiller release, which means, it feels better. Yes, it must be working for me.
Right.
Why do I have to do it 15 minutes later? Right.
Right.
So chiropractic now, let's address that question that you're talking about. When we start adjusting you, you become more aware of your body than you ever have before. So you're going to, it wants to be in that beautiful alignment. So it's going to say, hey, I'm out a little bit over here. And it's going to be a little uncomfortable so that it tells you, hey, we need to make sure and get this aligned. We need to make sure we're balancing things. So you're going to notice more things because you're more aware of those things that you weren't aware of before, which is not a bad thing because a good aligned spine means a great functioning nervous system, which means much more healthy you.
Yeah,
so
that's great. So that's all that we have for fact or fiction. But okay, 2 more things.
Yeah.
Number 1, you mentioned what question was it? I forget what question it was, but you mentioned the kids when we were talking about children, miracle stories. I want you to share a crazy story of somebody that you adjusted that like you saw, one of those miracle stories.
Oh gosh.
Well, I guess it doesn't have to be a miracle, but
Yeah.
just a cool story.
Yeah, no, I've got the thousands of them. I love my kids' stories just because kids are my life. They're just my world. And when the kids come into my office, they become my kids. You know,
Yeah.
I just love on them. A couple stories. I had a family coming in, and their two kids, I want to say 3 and 4, had horrible asthmas and allergies. And I'll tell you 3 quick stories. Horrible asthmas and allergies. We go through a year treatment, and mom comes back, and we're doing a re-sign for follow-up maintenance care, and she goes, you don't charge enough. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, the care for my kids last year cost $1,200 for both of them, and you saved me $2,400 in all the asthma and allergy medications and stuff like that. So I'm a net positive $1,200 by coming in to see you. So that's kind of fun, just to
awesome.
Again see that change. Had another kid that came in, had a red spot right here on his nose constantly. He was 7 when he started, and it was he had a runny nose. Always. It never stopped his entire life. So it was always a rash here. After the first adjustment, the runny nose stopped. And he's never had it since. And he's what is he, 17 now?
Yeah.
And he's like 6'5". But another one is one of my faves is my little Lily girl. Mom came to me, and she was just horribly fussy all the time, just everything going on with her, and she couldn't do tummy time. Tummy time, she would just scream, and that's like the most important time to get that curve in the neck and everything. And so we actually have a video of Lily, on her tummy and just screaming and fussing and kicking and all that stuff. And then I adjust her, and the next video is of her keeping her head all the way up and looking around, and big smile on her face. And so those are my fun stories. That I see those all the time. I've had people that don't have cancer anymore because, not that I healed them, but we removed the interference that the body knows how to heal, and the body healed itself. My dad was one of them. I had prostate cancer. No medical intervention, no anything like that. Just cleaned up his nutrition, got him exercising. Our 6 essentials is what we go by. Mindset, sleep, nerve system interference free, nutrition, exercise, and detoxification. Those 6 things, if you're living those things, your body's going to heal from just about anything. So those are the things that we see the miracles with, and it's not me that did anything. It's the body. I just get rid of the interference.
That's wild.
So, yeah.
Can animals be adjusted? I got 2 golden doodles. Can I bring them in and get them adjusted?
Yes, always. I love my. So,
how often do people bring in their pets?
Yeah, there's every week I'm seeing probably 10 different animals and stuff. I'm a nut with bones. I'm just a nut when, like, if we're hanging out and you got your baby and you hem your baby, I'm loving on the baby, but I'm also checking the spine.
Yeah.
And, if when your dog comes to see me, I'm like checking its spine and petting it at the same time. I just, anything with bones and mobility and all that stuff, it's neurotic. I mean, it is just I don't know what it is, a problem. I don't know.
You have to share with everybody the one story that that we're talking about, because you told it to me before, but I still think about it at night before I go to bed, of like, this is the craziest story. So why don't you go ahead and share that story with everybody?
My hawk story.
Yeah, your hawk story.
Yeah, we've got some big tall windows in our house, and we get birds that hit our windows all the time. I got this stupid barn owl, man, that hits it all the time too. It's so funny. But this one day I heard this big bong, and so I'm like, ooh, something big hit the window. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So I go out there, and it's this hawk. And it's just laying on the ground, and I mean, its neck is backwards and sideways, and I mean, it is not breathing. It's just dead as a doornail, and I see these big talons, and I want to play with the spine and all that stuff, because that's just who I am. And so it hits. It took me a couple minutes to get out there. I see the talons. I don't have any gloves. I'm going to get some gloves just in case. Big beak,
Right.
snap my finger off, whatever. So just in case. So I go grab my gloves. Now we're talking, it's like 5-6 minutes later, and I'm holding this thing, and the neck is just flopped. And I'm looking at it, and my wife comes out, and she's like, what do you got? And I'm like, it's a hawk. This thing is cool. It's just dead, though. And I go, will you go get my phone so you can take a picture at least? Kind of cool before I toss it in the woods. And so she goes back, and as she's coming out, I'm like, this neck. I pulled the neck around, straightened it out, and I just did some traction on it and adjusted it, straight. I remember it like it was yesterday. The force, like I'm holding on kind of tight. The force of this thing, it exploded out of my hands. We're talking 8 minutes later, no breath, no nothing. I mean, you can tell if something's breathing or
right.
not. And I lit this thing up, and it blew out of my hands and flew out. And I didn't even know what to do. I was just like, just stood there. What just happened? And my wife comes around the corner with my phone, and she's like, what'd you do with the hawk? I'm like, it flew away. She's like, it was dead. I go, I know. Well, what'd you do? So I adjusted it. And she's like, well, wait until I get the phone ready next time.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, that was crazy.
Resurrecting hawks out there. This is quite the medical practice.
Yeah, that was a one in a bazillion times. So that's for sure.
Okay, cool. So we're coming up on our time, and I kind of just want to end on this question. Because physical, we talked about physical health, obviously. And what encouragement would you give to someone, or advice would you give to someone that is just overwhelmed and says, I know that I need to make a change, but to them, change just seems so overwhelming.
Sure.
Like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Like, it's just because, when you are in that position, it is very overwhelming and intimidating when you have a million things, people saying, you should do this, you should do this. So if someone's like wanting to take the steps towards physical health, and know that they have to make a change, but they're overwhelmed, don't know where to start, what would you say to them?
First thing is, don't get rid of all the fad stuff. Okay, because there's the basics. I've been basics for 23 years in my practice and doing everything, and everyone comes to me with, hey, I heard you can drink too much water. And I'm thinking, okay, well, let's worry about putting the Twinkies down first. Okay, then before we worry about too much water, right? Too much water is really not a thing. So it's like, let's get our perspectives right. Okay, let's go, okay, what do we want to start? What are your goals? So map out what you want. I want to have more energy. Okay, well, let's start there. What do we need to do to have more energy? Well, the easiest way to have more energy is to kill the sugar in your diet, kind of a thing. So let's start with, let's replace a couple things. Or even better yet, add in some good stuff. If you haven't ever eaten vegetables, well, suck it up and get some vegetables going. Change nothing, just add. Okay, so add something that's going to bring value into your life and your health. And then from there, what's your next step? So maybe make a list. Here's what I have my patients do. Make a list of 10 things that you want to change over the next year. And then let's start with and make it in order of difficulty. Okay, so easiest thing that you want to change to the hardest thing that you want to change in the next year. And then let's start with that easiest one. Don't even touch the next 9, and it's water. I want to drink more water. Okay, how much water do you want to drink? Well, you should be drinking about 80 ounces a day. Average person, 70, 80 ounces a day, and it's going to be good. So here's my goal, 80 ounces or 70 to 80 ounces a day. Now, you don't move to number 2 until you've mastered that. So if it takes you a month to master that, well, you don't get to go to number 2 until that happens. Then number 2 might be, I want to eat less sugar. Okay, good. That's a good one. So what does that mean, though? Define it. What does less sugar mean? I want to stop eating my hard candies or whatever. Okay, well, that's a measurable goal, because then we just get rid of them. We don't buy them, kind of a thing. And then so on and so forth. Then just work your way up. Now, I want to get exercising. Okay, good. Don't try and do perfect. right?
Right.
If you need
That's
a gym
good.
membership, good. Go get a gym membership, I call them gym donations more than anything. But if you can do something at home, there's a lot of different things that you can do at home just to start off. Man, sit on a chair and stand up 30 times. You know, that's it. There's some exercise right there that's going to start things off. What time works best for you? Do it when you want to.
Yeah.
Don't be if you're not a 5 a.m. club, don't be a 5 a.m. club, you know? So, find your times and map it out and put it on the calendar, put it in your phone so that it reminds you, and give yourself an hour, head start kind of thing. So little tiny easy steps, but the most important thing is be consistent with it. Because that is what I've found in everything. The consistency is what wins the long-term game. That's just always master the one little thing and then move to the next thing. Master that. I just read a book. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water. Really good book. Just about the basics.
Yeah.
And, the fundamental thing was you got to do the basics to get to the thing. One of the things they said was don't look at life as a bunch of tests. Because when you do that, you're going to study hard for that test just to do good on the test. But then what happens after the test, right? Whereas if you just do your craft and study your craft and work your craft, you're going to do great on the test, but you're also going to continue on and master everything from there on.
That's good.
So
that's great. I think any leader can do better in terms of, their physical health and making steps. And so I really appreciate you coming onto the podcast and encouraging. There's so much gold in this. I know our leaders are going to be really encouraged by it. So thank you again, Dr. Tye, for coming on and blessing us with your knowledge.
Hey, thanks for having this. This is amazing. I was really excited when you were starting this. The future is now. Really proud of you. So
thanks,
awesome.
man. Okay, awesome. So next time we'll see you guys next week on another episode of The Future Is Now.